This, and it's our honour to welcome Rob to the De Morgan Foundation. He's an award-winning screenwriter who's spent 20 years writing for the UK's biggest film, TV and theatre companies, including the BBC, Channel 4, Sony, Aardman, Working Title, National Theatre, Royal Shakespeare Company. So what an incredible list. And he's written everything from a Christina Ricci movie to Google's first play. Rob has 100 of his poems built into the pavements of Kent and is a former BAFTA screenplay judge. So who better to teach us how to write films than Rob? In order that we can make sure that we're hitting the mark and we're offering workshops that everybody wants, you'll see that I've put a link to a feedback form. I promise you there are 8 questions on it and most of them are multiple choice. So if everyone could open that now and start filling it out and then remember to complete it and submit it at the end, that would be really helpful. But that's enough from me. I'm now going to hand you over to Rob.
Hello there, everybody. I'm hoping that you can hear me okay. What Sarah didn't mention was that I failed English at school and I was terrible at it. I was and I've basically done 20 years of doing things the wrong way and the clumsy way and finding out how to do it by making mistakes. So the good thing about this is I can teach you all of how not to make the mistakes that I made. It's basically film school in an hour. People study it for 3 years, but this is in 1 hour and you'll be able to learn how to write a movie or a Hollywood movie or a well-told story. So it's brilliant to be here, and I'm just trying to think of what would have really helped me 30 years ago when I started. So here goes. So what we'll do, actually, can I just see the first slide? Is that all right, Sarah? I'll do a bit of talking, but there'll be lots of, gosh, we've got people from Italy today, so that's brilliant. And in London, yeah, all sorts of places. So yeah, here's the first slide, which is a dog, because everybody loves a dog. It's got nothing to do with anything. And yeah, there you go. Everybody, because it's online, there's a picture of a pet. All right, then hello to Germany and India. Gosh, we've got people from all over the world. All right, then. So let's nip forward to the next couple of slides. Yeah, welcome, big welcome. If anybody puts a question into the chat, it doesn't matter how big, small, daft the question is. There's no sort of daft questions. Everybody's welcome and everybody's, don't feel sort of silly. This is not like a smug TED talk where some brainy expert waxes lyrical about how clever they are. This is just sort of like me and you, and it's to help you. So yeah, let's go for the next slide. This is what we're going to do today. We're going to learn how to write a story without a boring middle. We're going to write one together, and then you can go off and write one yourself. And actually, just for fun, the story that we write together, I'll make a little movie trailer to show you how easy it is to knock up a movie trailer. Basically, a good thing to remember is that we all spend 2 years of our lives watching films. So everybody's got the equivalent of A-level film studies. So we all know an awful lot of what makes a good film and what makes a bad film. So we're just going to unlock some of that knowledge today and yeah, move forward. So that's what we're going to do. So let's begin. It's really easy, the whole thing. It's just so there's a lot of fluff about it. But the main thing is it's really easy. There's 2 ways to write. And the first way is the news or the press release, which is the next slide. So then news. Actually, the word news comes from north, east, west and south, which is all the direction that the news comes from. A press release for the news, it gives you the really important information first. So COVID cured, there's a news story, or I've won the lottery. You don't need to know anything more about it. It just gets the information over right up front. So all the important stuff is straight away, you know, Rob Young wins Oscar. That would be a nice news story. And there it is. You know, everybody, I don't need to talk about what the Oscars are or anything. Everybody knows what they are. Or, you know, I found a £5 note in the street, or I had a great sandwich. They're all, you know, you don't need to know what's in the sandwich. That works on the news, but it doesn't work in film, because you can imagine if, you know, Harry Potter walked in, solved everything, and it was a 2-minute film, it wouldn't be very good. If, you know, Bilbo Baggins came in, destroyed the ring, you know, straight away, wouldn't work, because, yeah, it's over with. The next type of writing, which is the next slide, is the story. And in the story, all of the important stuff is at the end. So you build up to it. That's why I've put the arrow there. So you don't get a detective who just walks in the room and says, you did it, in a 1-minute film. He has to go through, what's the crime? He has to investigate the crime, and then he has to solve the crime. So there's the beginning, what's the crime? Investigate the crime, and then at the end solve the crime. It's a bit like a meal, sort of starter, main, pudding. The starter gets you going, the main is the main course, the big stodgy bit in the middle, and at the end there's a dessert, which is a little kiss to finish it off. So there's lots of talk in film about the 3-act structure, and that's all it is: beginning, middle, end. It's really easy. So sort of, if you're really interested, you can read Christopher Vogler's The Hero's Journey, Vogler, Christopher Vogler. But actually, starter, main, pudding, beginning, middle, end, that's it. So let's move on from there. To have a to create a story, we're going to have a hero. And when I use this word hero, it sounds male, but it could be female or male, or, you know, it could be a penguin, it could be anything. So there's no gender to the word hero. So I'm going to use that word. What we're going to do today is we're going to create a hero and then walk them through a standard Hollywood plot. So how do we create a hero? And I think it's on the next slide. And the way we create a hero is give them something hard to do. So somebody said, chase them up a tree and chuck rocks at them. That's the sort of metaphor version of it. So you give all you do is you take any character and you give them something really hard to do. And the reason we do this is because films that are boring have a boring middle where nothing's happening. So if you give somebody a really hard thing to do, they've always got a challenge and they've always got something to do. So how easy is that? If it has to be simple as well, and it has to be hard. So if you think about Star Wars, Luke Skywalker was a young kid, and he had to fight a big Death Star armed with only a little pedal bin and a monkey. And if you think of Lord of the Rings, that is a little guy with hairy legs, and he has to fight an army of thousands of orcs. That's a challenge. If you think of, yeah, all sorts of films, if you can nail it down to one simple thing, that's good. You know, man who's scared of heights wants to become an astronaut. That's a good challenge. So that's all you need to do, and then the hero's created. Again, how easy is that? So let's have a practice at creating some heroes. So let's look at the next slide. Yeah, I hope everybody knows what a dodo is. It's that funny looking flightless bird that didn't realize it was food, and as soon as they discovered it, everybody ate it. So what would be hard for a dodo to do? So in the text box, you know, give it a go, make some suggestions. Let's chuck this out to the group. What would be hard for a dodo to do? Survive, yeah, nice. Fly, yeah, because it can't fly. Actually, that's good. We could work with that. Think Aardman, you know, and suddenly it becomes a movie. Talk, sing, nice. Thanks, Alex. They're funny. Actually, by making it, I've made it deliberately stupid because then it's sort of, yeah, eat things, a nice take on climate change. Yeah, we've got loads there. Survive, fly. Actually, yeah, some brilliant ones there. And now, oh look, there's a picture of a thanks, Sarah. That's a picture of a dodo by William de Morgan. That's what it looks like. I mean, you know, what's that going to do? Yeah, actually, I like the climate change one as well. So, yeah, what is that? That dodo could try to raise awareness about climate change. That would make a good film. You know, Pixar, Aardman, you know, I can see it. So let's try another hero just to sort of warm up. Let's try, actually, let's try Prince Charming. What would be a really hard thing? Prince Charming, actually, you know what I've always thought was funny about Prince Charming is at the end of Snow White and Cinderella and, you know, Rapunzel, all of those films, uh, they all get a kiss from Prince Charming, who's weirdly the same guy. I always thought that was a bit suspicious. But anyway, what would be hard for Prince Charming to do? He could, you know, have a day off. I'm just going to chuck that in. Yeah, get a degree, because he's not, is he smart? You know, or can he just ride around being cheesy?
I like Sophia's. He has to give up being royal. We've had an almost real life example of that recently, haven't we, with Harry and Megxit, if you've been
Oh,
keeping up with that.
nice single dad. I like that one. Yeah, very good. Yes. Yeah. Anything? Yeah, really good suggestions. Yeah. Be gay, go undercover as an ordinary guy. Be ordinary. Take care of triplets. That's funny. That's funny. Actually, this is a good group. Loads of good suggestions. Yeah, be normal dad is really lovely because sort of, you know, that's not, it's not vain, is it? Looking after three triplets. Quite like that one. Ariadne is, I don't know if you know the myth of Ariadne, but she went around helping Theseus defeat the Minotaur and all sorts of things. She was really good. She was a really supportive partner. And at the end, when they'd won everything, they thought, let's go back to Athens and celebrate. And he said, let's just stop off on this little island. And he dumped her and he sneaked off and she was left there alone on an island. So I just thought she might be a good one. But actually, let's come back to her. Let's go for a slug or a pug. What, like the last couple of ones, just quickly, what would be hard for a slug to do? Win a race, nice. Be a bit like Turbo, cross the desert, be a gardener. Actually, gardener's really nice. Go to university is an intelligent one. I like it. Oh, turn into a butterfly. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, be a model. Yeah, because yeah, you don't get a good reaction. Work in a computer, win a beauty contest. Actually, I think let's, they're great. They're all great. Just keep them coming, all good. I think we should, what we're going to do next is we're going to take one of these stories that we've just invented and walk them through a film, because that's all you do. You make a hero, take them for a walk. Give a TED talk nice with his slurpy voice. So we're going to pick them. We've got a dodo who wants to go for climate change, a dodo who wants to raise awareness of climate change, Prince Charming, the single dad, or a slug who wants to be a butterfly. I'll just pick them. Yeah, just pitch in which of those stories you'd like to hear. A dodo, Prince Charming, or a slug. Sarah, would you just check which has got the most votes?
That's my challenge, counting all of these up. That could be in a film.
Yeah, that is a challenge. There's quite a few for Prince Charming.
Yeah, Prince Charming's looking.
Yeah.
Dodo.
I think it's Prince Charming first, Dodo second. And apologies to the slug.
Prince Charming's got 6, Dodo's got 5 at the moment.
Oh, there's another Prince Charming. Well, let's go with Prince Charming. It's a close race, but let's go with,
especially
unless
for a
Sarah,
slug.
you really like the, would you like the dodo? Would you prefer the dodo? because it's pretty even.
Well, I think climate change is a lovely thing for him to be trying to do. You know, not that being a single dad
Yeah.
isn't, but I feel like he could. You know, we've got potential to change the world here.
All right, as it was a pretty much dead heat, let's go for the Dodo. Okay, so let's move forward with that, and I'll walk you all through the story of what happens to the Dodo. And this, you know, we can imagine it as a uh, Pixar challenge, Pixar movie. What am I talking about? All right then, so let's have a look at, there's about 10 beats to the story, and we're going to take them for a walk through them. And you'll notice that nearly all films, 95% of the films, are the same story. So sort of, it doesn't matter if it's James Bond or a big Hollywood blockbuster or even a fairy story, most of them are nearly all the same story. So by revealing the mechanics of what that story is, you'll all be able to write a really, oh yeah, actually, thanks for that. The beats of the story, I've just said, let's walk through the beats of the story. And the beat is just like little stepping stones. They're like 10 things that happen in every film. There might be 12 of them, but every film, it's roughly the same plot line. So it could be 12 chapters, 12 little stepping stones, and almost all films have exactly the same little things. I call them beats, but they could be chapters, bits, anything you like. So the first one is going to be the next slide, which is, I think, Ordinary World. So yeah, Act 1, which I call the start or the first bit. So this is Act 1. The starter, actually, if you think about a meal, the starter is normally a quarter of an hour, and it's the same with a film. Oh yeah, thanks, Christopher Vogler, The Writer's Journey. Thanks for that. So if you think about a meal, the starter's normally a 3-course meal. The starter's pretty quick. It's about a quarter of an hour. And all this does is it sets the scene. So here's the first, there's about, I don't know, 4, 5 or 6 little beats in this bit of the story. So this is what they are. Ordinary world. Most films start out and we see the hero in their ordinary world going about their business. So what is an average day for a dodo, pre-human? What normally happens? Wander about on the island.
And they're native to Mauritius, let's not forget. So we go to a nice exotic island to shoot this film. I'm up for that.
Yeah, lovely. So yeah, looking for food. Yeah, food. They're wandering about. I think because in this film,
Sunbathe.
Mauritius
Yeah,
could be
that's
quite
it.
small. Yeah, sunbathe. There's not a massive amount to do if you're a dodo. You know, it's okay. It's nice. It's sort of, you know, fairly happy. Yeah, lay a couple of eggs, have a sunbathe, wander about. And as you can guess from this, in most films, yeah, flirt is a nice one. So just sort of having a bit of chat, having a bit. It's not really exciting. You see them and it sets them up, and that's who they are. It's lay it back. That's a good one. So what happens next is the next thing. You know, you can't have an hour and a half of just a dodo sunbathing. So something has to happen. So the thing that normally happens is there's a call to action, and that is a little hint about the challenge. So a little bit about, it could be a plastic bottle washing up. It could be a ship in the distance. What do you think the first call to action would be? The first worrying sign? Yeah, trips on a wire is nice. Thanks, Sarah. Uh,
That's the second mention of Greta Thunberg that we've had as well, which I quite like her coming into this at some point.
oh yeah, let's get that going later on. Yeah, there's something melting. Maybe his island's getting smaller. Yeah, getting sunburnt. That's good. Little signs of climate change. And then the next slide uh, uh, is no thanks. And that's just sort of the hero normally ignores it. It's just sort of like, oh, that's a bit funny. I'm a bit sore today, or that's a bit weird. There's a wire there. And the reason he doesn't respond and suddenly become a climate change activist now is that we have to show his life has worth. You know, he can't just give up on his whole life straight away, because that would make his life meaningless. So he has to just sort of, yeah, that's a bit odd. So the next slide is there's a big call to action. And a bit like that post that just somebody's done of saying, uh, you know, he got his beak caught in a plastic bag. Suddenly this call to action is a bit bigger. So there's something seriously going wrong here. So he's forced to action. Yeah, microplastic in his food. It's yuck, horrible. All the time he's being eating those lovely fish and mangoes and things like that. Yeah, one of his friends drowns in the net. He's lost one of his friends. It's really bad. So the next slide after he gets the big call to action is, oh, go on then. He decides to go for it. There's something seriously wrong here, and Dodo detective is on the case. The reason it takes two of these to get him going is because he has to go reluctantly. If he just barges into any fight going, then he's as aggressive as man. But by having to go reluctantly, he's the hero. That's how you create a hero, by wronging somebody. Liam Neeson does it all the time. Everybody does something rotten to Liam Neeson at the start. And I mean, if you think of films like Finding Nemo, a bad thing happens. Most Disney films, you know, somebody loses a parent or something. So it's a big call to action. The last beat of the first act is the next one, which is the warning. But watch out. If the dodo decides to go and swim out and go and head over to the nearest sort of country, or the men's village, or the humans' village with women and children in it, that's quite dangerous. So at this point, some other character always says, you realize if you do this, your life will change forever. Dun, exciting. And the only reason they say that is to up the tension, because if they went, all right, bye, see you later, whatever, it wouldn't be very tense. But it's often a hairy mentor, like a kung fu guy, who says, you realize if you go on this trip, you know, you if you think of Gandalf in The Hobbit, Gandalf in Lord of the Rings, he's saying, watch out, if you leave this, your life will change forever. If you leave the Shires, if Luke Skywalker takes up the battle with the Death Star, Darth Vader, his life will change forever. And it's just a cheap device to up the tension. But that's it. So we've set up that the Dodo is a reluctant hero, and he's going off into the world to fight climate change. So that's where we're up to. We've created the starter of the film, and now we're going on to Act 2, the next one, the big main course. This is going to be the big stodgy. It's like a big stodgy bowl of pasta. It's a big investigation. Yeah. Actually, that's whoever he's trying to convince. I'm just gonna, yeah, that's sort of, yeah, all good. Everybody's thinking, and thanks for staying with me, everybody. I hope this is useful to you. So let's send Danny the Dodo off on his adventure. At this point, they normally go to a new world. So let's have him waddle into somewhere like, where was the last, somewhere, Stockholm or New York. He's heading off towards the big meeting of world leaders. Or he could be heading to Skipton and say, yeah, let's go for Skipton. They're holding all the world leaders are coming to Skipton for a conference. Greta Thunberg's going to be there. You know, it's the obvious place to go. So off.
Rob, for our international friends on the call, can you give a brief description of what and where Skipton is?
Well, Skipton's a lovely little town, and it's in Yorkshire, and it's quite a modest town. It's not New York, and it's not Shanghai. It's just a really modest little lovely town. It's good. By gum, as somebody said, yeah, ordinary local people, brilliant. It's the kind of place where your happy granny would live, and they have nice cakes, and it's just sort of a homey town. It's not a village, but it's a homey town. Uh, so that's where he's going to head off. So he, oh, brilliant. Isn't liveness great? If that's where he's heading, it's pretty, you know, look at that. Proper Yorkshire, proper good, regular, homey town. I should work for the Skipton Tourist Board. It's a great place. I love it. That's where he's going. So what's it like on the next slide is the Brave New World. That's he's going to enter the Brave New World. In everybody's getting on with their lives in Skipton and waddling up the high street. Here he comes, you know, little Dodo. What's that like? It's sort of, this is the time when the hobbits leave the Shires. This is the time when sort of James Bond goes to an exotic location. The little Dodo arrives in Skipton. What's that like? He hasn't got any cash, so he can't buy anything. He can't get a drink if he's thirsty. What's it like? Yeah, full of challenges. That's correct. It's sort of, and we see the hero out of his comfort zone. This would be the point where Prince Charming is changing nappies. Yeah, he can't understand the Yorkshire accent. People, you know, somebody says to him, would you like to pay for that or should I put it on the bill? And he's thinking, what, on my bill? The one that's stuck to the front of my face. He doesn't understand what's going on. The cobble streets are a nightmare for his flappy feet. Yeah, it almost gets run over. You know, there's all sorts. It's just a challenge. And we like this as the audience because it's quite endearing. Because sort of, you know, we slightly worry about him. So by giving him these obstacles, we care about the Dodo. It's just sort of, let's give him a name. Let's call him, actually, let's chuck it out for a name. Who wants to name the Dodo?
I hope you've seen he gets offended by the word love because he's a committed Dodo.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, he's shocked by the modern world. Yeah.
Again, for people listening outside of the UK, you only really get referred to as love. Thanks, love. See you later, love. When you go to Yorkshire.
Oh, Delilah's a nice name. Yeah,
Lovely.
let's go for that. That's the first. I don't think anybody can better Delilah. Uh, oh, actually, yeah, actually, I like that suggestion about the little boy. So I'm gonna sort of, yeah, let's run with that. He's called Delilah. He's got completely unaware. It's his. He's completely unaware. It's a girl's name. He's just sort of. It doesn't matter. He's sort of. Here he comes. Here comes Delilah, waddling up the high street. A little boy rescues him from traffic and says, "You can't just go and do this." He's sort of, you know, you can't just sort of waddle about. You can't just wander into the meeting of the world leaders and sort of get up and give a big, you know. And the little boy says, "Look, you know, sort of, you know, don't just walk up. You'll be knocked over. Come and have some fish and chips with us." Uh, you know, and Delilah the Dodo's sort of eating them and thinking they're a bit greasy, but you know, this boy seems quite nice. The next beat in the story is practice battles. Actually, that's kind of juggling traffic and fish and chips and things like that. Let's move on to the next one, and the next one is approach the baddie's castle. If this was a movie about, you know, there's a big life or death fight, a big life or death moment coming up, and there's a bit of trepidation about it. It's like James Bond doesn't just fight the big baddie, he fights a few little baddies first and he builds up to it, and they show you the big baddie's castle on top of the mountain, you know, if it's Mordor or whatever. If this was a romantic comedy, you know, about commitment, this would be that he's approaching the marriage scene or she's approaching the wedding. So there's something really big in the distance. In our case, it's the G6 World Leaders Conference. Yeah, nice. Some lovely suggestions coming in. So he's going to just try and gate crash the conference and just sort of get in. So it's sort of, you can't just go and speak at the World Leaders Conference. We have to build up to it. We are artificially building up the tension. So, you know, is he stopped by security? Is he is he sort of actually there's some questions coming in, and let's do some of them towards the end, because let's do a question and answer at the end. Yeah, the little boy smuggles them in. That's a nice one. So we're all building up that it's not easy to just go and speak. You know, he might have to tap his little beak on Greta's dressing room and saying, look, I'm the last of the species. Would you give me 5 minutes to do a little talk? And she would say, yes, you know, delighted to meet you. So there he goes. He gets 5 minutes on stage to make his case, waddles out to the front. The eyes of the press are upon him. The little boy's cheering him on. And the next bit, the next slide is, this is his big moment, his big fight, his big wrestle. He wanted a campaign about climate change, and he's got 30 seconds left because he's got stage fright. We're upping the tension, upping the tension. And the next slide is an awful one. It is fail. He fails miserably in public, because if he wins halfway through, if he wins 1 hour into the film, it's a short film. And also, if you fail in public, and it's just sort of, it makes us quite like him, because nobody likes a smug person, nobody likes a show off. So by failing in public terribly, you know, maybe nobody can understand him. Maybe he says the wrong things. His microphone fails. Everybody laughs because, let's face it, he does look a bit funny. He's just sort of, yeah, he's so nervous. He lays an egg, you know, how embarrassing and funny, and just everybody's laughing. And it's sort of, it was supposed to be his great big speech, and he's failed. He's really embarrassed. And the next moment in the story is he seizing the trophy is a funny phrase, but he just learns a bit of wisdom. In this moment, the only thing he gets when the whole world is laughing at him, he learns something about himself, which is a valuable truth. It's called seizing the trophy. And what has he learned? What's his sort of humble moment of revelation? He's, yeah, the whole world are laughing. He did his best and it wasn't good enough. It's incredibly endearing. And what has he learned? Has he learned he's not good at public speaking, that he's just a modest bird from a small town, small island? Has he, yeah, he needs to connect in another way. So he waddles off, and he thinks he's failed, but at least he's learned something. It doesn't matter what other people think. That's a nice one, Alex. Yeah. So he gave it his best, and he's now going to, you know, maybe he squeaked out something like he wasn't very good. He was just from a little town. Yeah, to him, and she picks him up and says something nice. That's the end of the main course. Our hearts suddenly go out to the hero. It's when, and then we're going to go on to the dessert next, which is Act 3. So it's interesting. We've got here, it's sort of, it's, the story's become more emotional now. We care a bit about Delilah. It was a bit embarrassing. He laid that egg and made a burk of himself, but there you go. Act 3, we're going to finish it off and bring it home. So this is quite short. If you're eating a dessert in a restaurant, it would only take 10 minutes. So that's all this is going to take. So the next beat in the story is he scurries back home. He's so embarrassed that he laid an egg, made a twit of himself, that he's going to run back home, and he's chased. Who's he chased by? He can't just wander home or get the number 19 bus home. He's chased by shame. He's chased by the local press. He's chased by the world's press. The horrible British tabloid press all want to know about him, and all the press are chasing after him. He's flapping his way back home on his little rowing boat or whatever he did, and all the big speed boats of the rich and famous press are chasing after him back to Mauritius. Yeah, he's all over Twitter. He's all over social media. He's he's attacked by seagulls. We're really piling it on him, and the more we pile on the hero, the more we like the hero. Uh, you know, if you think of Indiana Jones, he was always getting beaten up. And also, like, is there a film where Tom Cruise and Matt Damon don't grunt all the way through it? They're trying hard. Yeah, everybody's trying to cash in. So the next beat is he is there's a final battle when he gets back to Madagascar. What am I talking about? When he gets back to Mauritius, which is now a tiny little island covered in plastic, he can't escape he can't escape the world's press. All the eyes of the world are upon him. He's standing there on his tiny little island full of plastic and wire and all those other things. And this is the point where the hero gives a speech. It's a little battle, and he wins this one because he has a secret weapon, and the secret weapon is the wisdom he had, he learned. So it could be something like, I'm from a small town, just like the people of Skipton, you know, we have to start this from grassroots. What speech does he make? He makes a small, modest, heroic speech, and that wins the day. And probably because the press can see that Mauritius is small and covered in plastic, what does he say? Whatever it is, yeah, yeah. I think the fact that he's ordinary works in his favor here, that he's lost everybody. Oh, it's great. If That's really nice. That sort of yeah, all lovely suggestions. I hope you can all see these suggestions. Oh, he's just a dodo with a dream. There's the advertising. There's the advertising strapline sorted. Yeah, he's lost everyone. He's just there. He's the last one, which is brilliant, isn't it? I mean, what a fantastic emotional climax we've all created. Uh, and there's one, and he wins the day. That's the thing. In this battle, he wins it because he's wise. The final thing in the whole film is the next scene, and that is he's back in his ordinary world, but it's no longer ordinary. So I wonder what that's like. Is it that Greta's there and the boy from Skipton and they're doing a litter pick? Is it that he's doing his own new nature documentary? It's sort of, yeah. Is he back in Skipton, sort of doing a litter pick? He's back in the same ordinary world, but he's not just lounging around getting a suntan. He's earned his right to be a credible campaigner, and that's the end of the story. So, as you can see, by using these beats, we could have done that with Prince Charming, we could have done that with anyone, we could have done that with the Slug, and but we did it with the Dodo, who is now the new David Attenborough, Sir Delilah Dodo or whatever he's called, and excellent. So as you can see, the reason I wanted to do this live was you can see that if you follow these beats, yeah, actually, I'll come to that. That's a good point. By following these beats, your story doesn't have a boring middle. It always raises the tension and it's always emotionally engaging. Just because 95% of the films follow this format doesn't mean you can't tweak it a bit. Like if you want it not to be a happy ending, that's okay, but at least the bulk of your film or your story is working. So that's it. So I think we could probably do with a little bit of uh, just how was that for you? So sort of, would anybody like to pop things into the text of if that was interesting, if it helped, what you liked about it? It's sort of yeah, how was that for you? Thank you. I tried to explain it in a really clear, simple way so it's not full of film speak and art speak. Oh, that's good. Thank you. Yeah, That's good. Yeah, this is what I wished somebody had explained to me very early on. It's sort of because it's just a very quick. If you noticed, we've written a movie, but we haven't done any writing really, apart from a few words. We've plotted the whole thing out. We didn't get bogged down because lots of people, they sort of type and they say, "Look, I'm writing," and they're creating a long wobbly story, and it gradually runs out. So by doing it this way, you can your story's well crafted. Uh, oh, thanks for the nice feedback, everybody. That's lovely. If what a nice bunch of people. Yeah, really appreciated. So we could move on, Sarah, if you like, and we could, yeah. This is a picture from the De Morgan collection. I love it. It was painted by uh, Evelyn. Actually, do you want to talk about it, Sarah, and just say something about it?
Yeah, give you a rest to get a glass of water, Rob, after that great
All right, thanks.
presentation that you've just been doing for us. Amazing. Yeah, so I don't know how many people will have come to us through De Morgan, so you might not know, but I am the curator of a museum collection, which means I look after all the paintings, like the one you can see on the screen, and ceramics, like the little tile we saw with the Dodo on. And these were all made by a husband and wife who were alive in the Victorian period, about 150 years ago. And they really believed that their art could do what the Dodo thought he could do and make a better and more beautiful world for everyone. So every painting that we've got has feminist undertones. Both Evelyn and her husband William were passionate suffragists and feminists, and they really campaigned for women to get the vote in this country. So as we'll see in this story of Ariadne, which is an ancient story from Greek mythology, Evelyn de Morgan's painted the point in the story where the woman has been completely abandoned by her lover Theseus. He sailed off and left her on the island of Crete, even though she helped him defeat the Minotaur, which is this horrific half bull, half man figure. And most paintings of this story really feature the high drama where Theseus is sailing off, or where another god, Bacchus, comes and rescues Ariadne. But Evelyn de Morgan painted her as being completely abandoned and alone. And I think that's probably a lot how she felt a lot of the time, as she really fought to become a professional artist in a time when that just wasn't the thing for a woman to be able to do. She had to persuade her very middle class parents that she could be an artist, but then she really just turned her back on all expectations and went off traveling through France and Italy on her own as a young teenager, which is a difficult thing to imagine doing today, really, never mind sort of 150 years ago. Yeah, this painting she painted at the age of 20. And had a wonderful career as an artist. She was really well respected, and then met William, responsible for the Dodo we were looking at, in 1887, and the two of them married and lived together in London, being these fantastic artists. And so today I look after all of the paintings and ceramics in the collection at museums, mainly at Cannon Hall in Barnsley, very close to Skipton. If you've been inspired to visit there, you can come and have a look at Cannon Hall as well. But we're also in a gallery in Wolverhampton called Whittick Manor, and in a gallery in Guildford as well. So that's me, and that's Ariadne.
Actually, okay, I'll just say something about Ari. Actually, I'll just answer one of the questions. One of the
Yeah.
questions we could do question and answer at the end, but one question which has come up repeatedly is why is the big battle an hour into the film and why is the little battle at the end, and shouldn't the big climax be at the end? And it's a really good question, so I'll just address
Yeah.
that first. Uh, the big battle so that the hero can fail, so we like them, because we have to relate to them. I don't know what it's like to be an international spy, but every time I see Tom Cruise running and jumping and grunting and trying really hard to save the world, I might not have anything in common with him, but I can see he's making an effort. And when he fails, my heart goes out to him. I think sort of good for you, Tom. And then when he gets back up again, we can cheer for him. Come on, try again. It's all about resilience, because people think writing and the arts are all about uh, just like a hobby or just a sort of little frivolous add-on thing, but it's actually how we tell our human story. Films especially are one of the best and most efficient ways of communicating what it is to be alive, and what it is like to be alive is a struggle. So when we see Tom Cruise struggling, we can relate to that because our life is a struggle as well. So by putting a big failure right in the middle, he comes back, and it's still a big battle at the end, but that's more just the resolution of it. It's just sort of, you have to, if you fail big, we love them big, and then we just want a quiet, peaceful resolution at the end. So the endings, the final battle is more about peace and coming to terms with yourself. And that's less dramatic than fighting a great big baddie, or wrestling a giant octopus or gorilla or anything like that, or King Kong, or the huge Transformers style massive battle always happens 2/3 the way through, and then it's breathe and process. Yeah. With Ariadne, I just thought, if you want to have a try writing a film using the template will be available probably now on the website. So you've got the instructions on the website, you've got loads of stories in the De Morgan collection, but one of them, I just thought, I like this painting because she did it when she was 20. Ariadne is a woman basically dumped on an island, and sort of she's left there on a deserted island. She's really credible, she's intelligent, she's much more intelligent than the man who dumped her there. And it's, what does she do now? To me it looks like the start of a film, and she's like a great feminist action hero or heroine. So if we just could flick to the next slide, I just thought, if you're looking for a story to write, what's Ariadne's challenge? If we go to the next slide, it could be, you know, start, is she a bit like the Dodo, where she's trying to get back home? Does she want vengeance on Theseus, who the man who dumped her there? Does she want to make friends with the animals and make a zoo and being silly there? Arguably. Does she survive, or does she, you know, do you want to make it really left field and go for, does she want to be on Strictly Come Dancing, which is a dance competition on TV in the UK? It's sort of if you want to give it a go with Ariadne, you could always knock up a quick film and email it to us. So I thought, if you're stuck for a character and you don't want to go for Prince Charming and you don't want to go for a slug, you could always go for Ariadne because she's great. And I'd love to have, just as Evelyn de Morgan put her centre stage and not Theseus who dumped her, she's the one whose movie I'd like to see. I think the next slide shows, this whole slideshow is available on the website. Write the story. So you could do that. You could draw a quick little sketch of the poster. And if you're feeling brave, the good way, I won't go into it now because it's self-explanatory, but there's a website called renderforest.com, and for free, you can make broadcast quality movie trailers. When I end this talk, I'm going to go off and I'm going to make Dodo the movie trailer, and you can do it for free. If you do it for, you can, it's self-explanatory. You just go up to create video at the top, and one of the choices is movie trailers. You can knock them up for free, and they have a little watermark on it, says made by Render Forest. If you want to remove that, it costs about £10.49, about, I don't know, 13 American dollars. It's quite cheap. So if you're writing a film yourself and you want to make a trailer for it, the Render Forest trailers are great. And all it is, it's a load of pre-made trailers with the text boxes are missing, and all you have to do is fill in your words and you get a movie trailer. It's a bit, if you can use Microsoft Word, you're overqualified. It's free, so you can't break anything. You can't, it's just brilliant. Make a movie trailer. It's really fun. So now you can, I'm kind of coming to the end of it now. Now you can write a story which is really well told, and if you give that half an hour, you can make your own movie trailer. You can publish it on YouTube. It's brilliant, and it's free.
And if people do have a go at making them, Rob, and either share those with us on social. So we are at De Morgan Foundation on Twitter, on Instagram, and on TikTok, and on Facebook. And then we are at De Morgan F on Twitter. So our handles are quite straightforward. You'll find us if you just search for De Morgan Foundation. There aren't very many of them out there. So yeah, if you share those, with us, we'd love to see them, and we can take some of the best ones and put them on our website to sort of illustrate what we did in the workshop with other people who might be interested as well. And Rob, of course, is going to make up the story of Delilah for us.
And it's a great platform. I mean, all of the sort of De Morgan platforms are great. They're really credible and sort of arty and interesting, and they get lots of views. So it's a really good thing to do. The advantage for this, just sort of knock them up and just don't spend any money on it or anything. Just sort of do it for fun. But the only advantage of spending the £10.49 or whatever it is on removing the watermark is if you do that, none of your friends know how you've done it, and they all think you're really clever, and that you've just suddenly emerged with this amazing animation skill. So that's a good thing to do, but it's a fun thing. And I think we should go for questions and answers now, if that's okay. Like, let's do 10 minutes of questions and answers, and I've got no boundaries. You're completely welcome to the contents of my head, so just sort of ask away.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rob, and thank you for lovely comments on the collection and the artworks as well, which you've enjoyed seeing today. I've resent the link to the Jot form. If everybody could just take 2 minutes, honestly, I think it's 8 multiple choice questions and then some boxes to say what you liked or didn't like. But even if you ignore those and do the tick box or drop down information on that Jot form, I think it will take you less than a minute, and it's incredibly helpful. It basically means that I can persuade my big bosses, the people who are in charge of the money, that doing this sort of thing is worthwhile and we can do more of them. So that is amazingly helpful. Thank you. And then, yeah, of course, ask away.
Oh yes, actually, yeah, fill in the forms. That's really good, because it just sort of it's all about impact and everything. Actually, there's a question saying that which beat would it go when the female hero is successful? What beat would that be in? And it's just basically following this template. Sort of let's have more female heroines, and just sort of put the big fail to show that she's tried really hard. She bounces back with resilience, and it's the last scene. It's that last heroic speech where she can tell, So say if it was Ariadne, I could imagine a film where she wants to go to Athens and compete in the Olympic Games and sort of beat Theseus, and just sort of so she sails over there. Even if she didn't win at the Olympics, she'd come back with that great speech at the end that sort of would get all of the women in Athens on her side, and she'd give a big heroic feminist speech. Brilliant. And I'd cheer for that. So I'd follow the same format. There's another question: how much research do I normally do to make it historically accurate? Actually, I would get a brainy friend. I come from a sort of pretty bad school, and I can't spell very well. I'm terrible with grammar. I'm just sort of not very well educated. So I get a friend to check. That's what I would do. It's sort of, I research as much as I can, but there's a ceiling to my intelligence, which is lower than I want it to be. So I'd probably ask somebody brainy like Sarah, who's chairing this workshop. If I wanted details about the Greek myths and the De Morgan collection and things like that, I'd so ask Sarah, because my brain's the size of Satsuma and hers is a bit like a melon, so I'd ask her. What other questions have we got? What if... actually, that's nice. Somebody's doing a gender-free thing. Huge support for that. I think it's... yeah, I think you've got it. I think sort of people are all right. You're right that it's Christopher Vogler's The Writer's Journey. I'll sort of type that in a bit. But there's more
I think
reading.
the question there, Rob, has it wasn't about sort of using a hero or a heroine, but rather what happens if that character is successful. So whereas we had the Dodo failing, going back to Mauritius, and then sort of a little fail at the end, I think this person's question is,
Yeah.
what happens if they are, they win the battle and
If
they're
they win the big
triumphant,
fight,
and
yeah.
yeah, Harry
Well,
Potter's
it,
beaten Voldemort, spoiler, and
yeah.
all the wizarding world's back to normal. I think that sort of thing. Yeah.
I think it's actually there's a couple of random examples. When I see a TED talk and the person is really smug and smarmy and they're talking about how great they were and how they made £1 billion, and everybody in the audience feels a bit silly because you're small and worthless in comparison. So I don't quite like really, really successful people. And I once, when you watch the marathon, when the elite runners cross the line, I respect them and I really like them and I think good for you, but I don't love them. The people who I love are the people struggling at the back, who are wearing silly costumes and who are out of breath and who are in, sort of not the best condition, or, some mum pushing a wheelchair and things like that. They're just sort of, those are the people who I like. I like sort of, I'd cheer much more for a disabled person who completed the marathon in 10 hours than I would for an elite athlete who did it in 2. And the reason is because of the effort and the struggle. And I'm not saying that the elite athlete didn't struggle, but they just didn't struggle as much. And the more people struggle, the more my heart goes out to them. So sort of, the person I really cheer for is the overweight person who's sort of raising money for charity, and they make it over the line, and it's really moving. And I just think I'd want to give that person all the money that I have. And that's why it's better to fail and get up again than it is to just win. Sort of people who win all the time, they're a bit boring. uh,
We love an
so
underdog, don't we?
Oh, you've got to love an underdog. If Luke Skywalker had it rolled up with a bigger Death Star and just shot him out the sky, it's just sort of men with guns. It's not like the plucky resistance. Uh, so
And a question I've had that came straight to me and not on the main chat, Rob, is, oh, I've lost it now. Bear with me. Oh, how did you get into it? How did you get into screenwriting?
actually, I got into it. It's funny. I got knocked over by a car. I was working in an office, and I got knocked over by a car and I broke my leg. And for 9 months, I was in plaster, and I couldn't do anything. I couldn't get out the house. I couldn't go shopping. So I started to write, having never written before and failed English at school. Uh, and I wrote a piece of writing. I put it on with the compensation that I got from my injury, and it got really nice reviews. And suddenly everybody was saying, "Gosh, you're good at writing." And I was thinking, "Am I? Really?" Because I can't even spell. And I became successful by accident. I got a film contract because I've got the same name as somebody else who is famous, and they thought I was him. It's a ridiculous story. And I was really scared and I was really nervous. And I got a job for Working Title Films, which is the biggest film company in Europe. And I said, "Why is everybody being so nice to me when I'm obviously way out of my depth and I don't quite know what I'm doing?" And this woman from Working Title said, "Don't worry, the entire British film industry is just women in cardies. It's just women in cardigans. We're all nice and you're welcome." And from that day onwards, I was never scared again. And it was just the kindest, most welcoming thing, that I didn't think that the film world was something you couldn't break into. There's an awful lot of nice, kind, generous people who work in film and who are happy to help you up, in a way. Not bigging myself up, but like me, I'm just, all my knowledge you're welcome to, and if it helps, and sort of, and then you probably do the same, sort of, in 20 years time you can help other people. So yeah, I got knocked over by a car, which is a crazy way in. Don't suggest doing that, just write good stories.
Yeah, that's not a tip.
I think that's
um,
about it. I think sort of,
yeah,
yeah, I mean,
just a couple more before you leave us, Rob. Just a couple more questions that I've picked out that are quite interesting. Are can these acts or these and these beats follow for a series? So could that be, how would you break that down so that it's not one story in a film, but
Yeah.
one story
Yeah, they
over
are.
a series?
Yeah, there's a few sort of, it's similar. There is a bog standard off the shelf formula like this that you can use for series, and it's similar. So I think, you know, this is pretty good and pretty bulletproof. You just have to follow, you just have to be aware that, you know, they'll always say, so what happens in season 2 or what happens in episode 6. So you just, you know, you wouldn't do wrong by writing sort of 10 little movies like this, but you just have to also think of the big picture and the long through line. I think I'd read up on it. BBC Writers Room has free downloadable scripts where you can do it, and there are lots of books out there. Uh, and also just watch a teleseries and write down what happens. That's a good free way of doing it. Watch your favorite teleseries and jot down what's happening. But I think it's similar but not quite the same, because you have to you have to leave something unresolved for season 2. So it's similar but not quite, and needs a bit of further reading, but it's nice. What was the other question, Sarah?
And the other one, do you have any tips to write a short 1 minute film?
Uh, yeah, just very strong conflict. That's the thing. If it's two people in a room chatting, that is, it's a bit boring. If you're a kid and you're watching your mum chat to her friend, it's a bit boring. Or if you're a kid watching the news and two people are talking on about something that you don't understand, that's a bit boring. But so think of conflict. Something has to be happening. Somebody has to want something. Something's wrong and needs fixing. So it's all about conflict. If there's conflict, even if it's emotional conflict, uh, something has to be happening. So that's what I would say. What's the conflict? And if you can't see it quickly, and then you don't know what it is, and it's not focused enough, you should just be able to say off the cuff. It's about a man who can't swim who has to fight a shark. That's it. Straight away, it's quick. It's about a Dodo who wants to speak to the world. It's about Prince Charming who's ends up a single dad. It's just quick. It's tough. Something, yeah, quick, tough, strong, and you've nailed it. And sort of, you don't need to pack a whole 90-minute film in. Just show us a bit of conflict, somebody struggling, and I'd cheer for them. Like I'd cheer for that person crossing the line. If you can show us a bit of grit and resilience, I'd be cheering your hero on.
And one final one, and then I think we really do have to call it a day. But apart from people saying they'd watch a movie of your life, Rob, the final question is, how do you write good dialogue? Which I think would be a really useful tip. So we're bringing these characters to life, aren't we, I suppose?
Yes. There's the official rule is there's 3 reasons for a line of dialogue. 1, to move the story forward. 2, to relieve, to actually, I'll start again. 1, to move the plot forward. Every line should do this. Move the plot forward, reveal a new truth about the character, or be so darn good it's worth holding up the whole film for to see it. It's a really tough rule because you can't quite make it. It's an aspiration rather than a rule. But I've read over 2,000 scripts and they all do this. Hi, what's the time? The time, yeah, I'll tell you the time. The time is this, I'll tell you. It's really, and it's all sounding cool in the writer's head. But after 3 pages, you've never found out the time. And even if you did, it's now 3 minutes later. So don't waffle. If you waffle on, it's boring. Keep it punchy. It's sort of try editing down your whole page into 2 killer lines. All killer, no filler. So the 3, try and either move the story forward. What's that? You know, that's a good line. The best line I've ever read was, do you want that sausage? Because immediately it's funny and there's conflict and, you know, it's great. Uh, but either reveal a new truth, move the plot forward, or the line has to be really, really, really good to put the brakes on, because dialogue isn't that important. It's a bit like the icing on a cake. Bake the cake first. your car should always be driving and accelerating towards. That's the workshop we've just done is all about how to accelerate a story. There's never a moment in our story where it gets boring or you don't know where you are. You know, and if you're writing and you're 2 hours in and you're still on the starter, that's boring. You know, so sort of dialogue's less important. It's all about acceleration. So if you've suddenly got a scene where they're chatting away and chatting away, it's putting the brakes on. It's sort of, it's much better to say, quick, run. There's, you know, the island's getting smaller. You know, there's not much of Mauritius left. We must build a raft. Quick, let's get off it. It's sort of, that's exciting. Even if the words don't sound exciting, the forward motion is. So that's it. That's, I've now got an empty head. You've got it all. So please fill in the feedback form, visit the brilliant De Morgan collection, and yeah, just sort of, and my details will be on the website and everything. So if you do have a question after this, then I'm happy to answer it sort of personally, but sort of, yeah, that's it. And thanks to Sarah, and thanks, huge thanks to the De Morgan uh, collection for having me as part of their brilliant Easter celebration. So thank you.
No, it's been wonderful, Rob. Thank you so, so much for sharing all of your knowledge and insight in such an easy to digest way. It was brilliant. We all loved it, and lots of lovely thank yous and feedback coming in for you as well. There will be an email through Eventbrite, so look out for it if your Eventbrite emails sometimes end up in junk folders, which I will send out, which will have a link to the website, a link to the place where we can make trailers, and a link to Rob's website. I think that's it, isn't it? Those three. Great. Well, I'll send that out later today when we've got the trailer up on the site, and then you can see this Dodo movie trailer for yourselves, which I'm sure we're all very excited about. But yeah, something a bit different for a Wednesday in the Easter holidays anyway, isn't it? So thank you again, everyone, for coming along.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.